What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our Big Ten channel. I'm going to give you a projected record, a very early projected record for Wisconsin here in this video. This is not a prediction. It's simply a projection with the formula that we use. Before we get to that projection, let's look back at some of the projections from 2023. You can see a 7-5 record in the regular season. Our projection had this team at 8-4. My prediction was 10-2. I was really high on Wisconsin. Obviously missed the mark there. Athlon had them at 9-3. They were high on this team as well. Even the over-under was at 8.5. So our projection was actually closer than anyone. It was on the right side of the over-under, and sometimes that's the way it goes. Sometimes it's not. But yes, the projection last year was very accurate for Wisconsin. So again, here's the schedule. This is the scale that we use. If it's under 20 or over 80, those are games that are pretty much guaranteed wins or losses. 20 to 29, 71 to 80, games where I think the spread will be pretty big, double digits. 30 to 39, 61 to 70, games where I think the spread will be closer to a touchdown. And then your 50-50 games, 40 to 60%, those games will stay in the white. Those are games where I really feel like it could go either way, and the spread will probably be 3 or 4 points, something like that. So we'll start with easy wins. We got Western Michigan and South Dakota. I think they should be clear favorites, overwhelming favorites in both of those games. Really no reason to expect either game to be all that competitive. So you've got 2 easy wins on the schedule, and then you've got a couple of games where I think they're going to be favored by about a touchdown, Purdue and Minnesota. I think Wisconsin is in a tier above these two teams, and they play both of these games at home. You put all that together, and yes, I do think Wisconsin will be favored probably by 7 or 8 points in both of these games. Of course, it's early, a long ways away from even knowing really how good these teams are going to be, because we really don't know until we get into the season. But looking at it right now, that's kind of how I feel like it's going to be. And then I do think there are games where Wisconsin will be a clear underdog. I think Alabama, Penn State, Oregon, I think they're going to be about a touchdown underdog in all 3 of these games. But the good news is all 3 of these games are at home. So that gives Wisconsin a chance really in all 3 of these games. Now, I don't see them winning all 3, but wouldn't be surprised at all if they're able to pull off a win in one of these 3 games. Again, home field advantage, such a big deal in college football, and Wisconsin has a great home field advantage. So we'll see if they're able to pull off a win in one of those games. The odds would say, when you've got a game here in this range, the odds would say if you have 3 of these games, you're going to win one of them. So which game will Wisconsin win? That would be the question, of course, Alabama, Penn State, or Oregon. And then the rest of the games here on the schedule, they're all 50-50 games. You've got USC. I think they're in the same tier as Wisconsin. I do think Wisconsin is in a tier above Rutgers, Northwestern, and maybe even Nebraska, but they play those games on the road, so that knocks those down to 50-50 games. And then I think Wisconsin and Iowa are going to be pretty even next year as well. So you've got 5 50-50 games, 5 games that could really go either way. If they're able to pull off a win in one of these games in the yellow, and they win all their 50-50 games, could be a great season, but again, it could go the other way. You could lose to Purdue or Minnesota. You could lose most of your 50-50 games, and all of a sudden, you're back to 7-5 or 8-4, something like that. It could definitely go either way. But when we do our projection here, the projection for Wisconsin comes out to be 7-5. Again, with a difficult schedule, with a lot of 50-50 games, with 3, more games. Let's just ignore Western Michigan and South Dakota. They have more games that they're going to be a clear underdog than they do that they're going to be a clear favorite, if you get rid of those 2 cupcake games. So, yeah, it's going to be a pretty tough schedule. 7-5, I think, is pretty fair. I think this team is capable of maybe doing a little bit better than this. But if things don't go right for them with this schedule, they could lose. Let's say the 3 games in the yellow, they could easily lose to USC. They could lose to Rutgers or Northwestern. They could lose to Iowa or Nebraska. It could easily be a 6-6, even maybe even a 5-7 type season. But again, it could be better. It could be 8-4, it could be 9-3. So I think 7-5, a pretty fair projection for Wisconsin. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? Give me your thoughts on this team and your projection down in the comments below.